let's throw on our tuxedos, let's grab our microphones, and let's host a little award show.
Let's do
MLB
it.
Superlatives. I'm handing the mic over to you to host our little award show today.
So everybody, I'm really excited about this. So I came up with a couple awards, I should say, no rewards, except for maybe good vibes for everyone who is a winner.
Great vibe.
Some award categories, very straightforward, and some of them I named very weird categories and whatnot. So I'll introduce the awards and we'll both give our winner for both awards. Basically, not MVP, not your silver sluggers, gold gloves. That's already been given out. We know about those. It's fine. Instead, we are going to start with the first one. Miller, may I get into it?
Yes, you may.
The first award for the Millard Thomas and Javier Reyes Locked On Padres, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover superlative show is the Time Magazine Award for Most Interesting Player in the Sport. For those who know, Time Magazine does their Person of the Year. That doesn't mean best person. That doesn't mean coolest person, most noble person. It just means the person of the year. Like, who was the most discussed? I think that people always get mixed up why Time, you know what I mean? Like, they're always, hey, that guy stinks. Yeah, sometimes they do stink. It's just who was the person of the year. So, Millard, my person of the year that I would love to see, like a, dare I say, like the Vanity Fair version of this. Who would I like to see it on? I mean, it's kind of I feel like it's kind of obvious, is it not? I think it's
We'll see.
I think it's Shohei Ohtani. I think it has to be him.
Okay.
I had some other nominees in there. I thought about Nick Castellanos. I thought that he was a lot of fun, but I just think that the story of the year is Shohei Ohtani. It is always going to be Shohei Ohtani. And most importantly, while yes, he just had another great season, I think what's interesting is the whole World Baseball Classic part of this. I think that him winning there and then being on this miserable Angels team, them going for it at the deadline and to no avail, him looking like he's literally crying in the dugout, and the fact that he's a free agent that apparently from early reports they're treating like a Messi. And what I mean by that is they're saying like just his blockbuster name value alone is another reason to get into him, aside from just the baseball stuff. And like everyone has seen Miami, the MLS team, how much like celebrities are going to that game now, right? Because it's so great. So I think that it's Ohtani. And frankly, I think it's almost always going to be Ohtani, this award. But what do you think?
Wow. I mean, Ohtani, he is the obvious answer for that award. But I was like, let's dive a little bit deeper on this. Let's not give it to Ohtani because I can't discredit anything you said. I mean, the man has already been on the cover of GQ showing the arms off. So he's already graced magazines. I don't even know if other MLB players are doing that outside like Stand in the Body issue where we get to see those amazing glutes that he got. So I'm going with a different direction here. I'm going with a rookie, and I'm not going with the D-backs rookie. I'm going for the rookie from the Cincinnati Reds, Ella De La Cruz. I thought when he came up, he took the baseball world by storm for those first couple months with the speed, with the swagger. He had a little power. Maybe he wasn't the best rookie this year, but you would have thought he was right there with Corbin Carroll for at least like 3 months, just based off how much we talked about him, about the hard hitting contact power, the speed he had. He's maybe the fastest player in baseball. Maybe he has the most power in baseball. Super dynamic athlete, 6'5", lanky, can do it all over the field. The numbers aren't even that great when you look at the end of the season numbers, but you wouldn't even know that with how much positive discussion there's been around De La Cruz this season. So I'm running with him as my most interesting player from this past year.
Good choice. Good choice. And he looks fun, man. He's fun. Like he did. The only reason that he was like on my short list, the only reason I did it is because really fell off after that first month or so. Like the rookie wall, he didn't just run into it. That man went flying out of a cannon into it, right? So that's the only reason I didn't pick him.
His numbers aren't like that nice, actually, if you look at the end of the season.
But like the beginning, the speed, like this guy had that like Tatis, oh my God, I have to just watch him play type of vibe to him. Like just the speed, the charisma, the power, the glut, like everything was, you see the tools. And if you're a Reds fan, especially after all they've been through with like selling every player, that completely destroying, breaking down the team, it worked though. It worked. Unlike say the A's, they traded, and I think they traded well. So shouts to the Reds. They deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, they had like 5 rookies in like the top 10 of voting this year. So they got a nice future ahead of them.
Yeah, they got a nice future. Next award is pretty simple. It's just called Best Breakout. I couldn't come up with a fun name for it in time. So it's just Best Breakout of the year. Just which player, like, you know, had the biggest like upstarts. So this is not an Otani thing, obviously, nothing like that. Millard, my winner for this award is going to be your boy, Bobby Witt Jr. of the Kansas
Okay,
City Royals. I
my
don't know why I said it was your boy.
I don't know why I was like, "My boy." Okay.
I
I'll
don't know.
take him. He's a good young guy, I
No,
guess.
no, you know who's your boy? Bellinger is the one that's your boy. That's the one that you were like,
Oh,
oh please, and then he had a good season.
yeah, he did.
Look, Bobby Witt Jr. was excellent this year, in a lot of respects, and I think that he deserves a lot of credit. 11th in F4 among all qualified position players, and I think he deserves a lot of credit because he had such a eh rookie season. And what I mean by is like based on expectations. And a big part of that was Julio Rodriguez. And I think this happens in sports sometimes where like when the one guy of your class, your draft class, is going crazy, all of a sudden the other player now is like a bust. And I don't think that that's
Mm,
fair. Right? Like let's say, just to give a football analogy, like Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins, where like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow are like breaking records while he's struggling a little bit, and now he's starting to break out. So they have some similarities. Of course, you know the other guys are better, but still like, and same thing with Julio Rodriguez. Like he's a better player, but I think that Bobby Witt Jr. cleaning up his defense, like -9 defensive outs above average last year, 14 positive outs above average this year, and then of course, Fantasy King. Who doesn't love a Fantasy King, man? I know you love a Fantasy King.
love
30
it.
home runs and 49 stolen bases, 115 WRC plus. He still has stuff to work on in terms of like being a more complete bat to ball hitter, drawing some more walks, only 5.8% walk rate this year, but he's only 23 years old. 30 home runs, 49 stolen bases. Pretty cool. And I think he's cool as well, which I'm putting part of it because of the fantasy baseball stuff, especially. 30 home runs, 49 stolen bases. Everyone told me Acuna was the only one that could do both. Well, look at Bobby Witt out of Kansas City, a team that basically has nothing. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, he's like the only
Congratulations.
guy he's probably the only player any major any casual baseball fan can name off the Kansas City Royals because if you ask me right now, the James Shields still pitch for the Kansas City Royals? Like the list of names on that team doesn't go very deep. Eric Hosmer, has he returned to that team? I do not know.
It's
So
got to happen at some point.
yeah, we need the reunion. We need the 1 day contract signing before he retires. Go back to Kansas City. Bobby Witt's a fantastic pickup here. I mean, he was like the #1 pick in the draft, and he's hit
Yeah.
most of the benchmarks coming up through the system. And so
Mhm.
this is a guy to watch over the next few years. Maybe he can have that Rondo Cunha, take it to another level, be maybe a 40-70 kind of player. He's got that kind of
Mhm.
ability in him. So he's definitely going to be someone to watch on the rise, and hopefully the Royals can put some kind of competent team around a star player like Bobby Witt. For me, I had 2 players written down here. I don't know what direction to go in. So I'm going to go with the guy who finished a little bit higher in his personal award voting. I'm going with Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs here.
Nice.
Finished 5th in Cy Young voting. And to be honest, as a D-backs fan, I would have told you he probably should have finished ahead of Zach Gallen, to be honest, because of the way Zach Gallen finished the second half. Justin Steele from start to finish was very good. He was like top 4 in ERA, top 2 in wins. Could have used a few more innings pitched under his belt, but just good for that Cubs team from start to finish. A team that faltered down the stretch was not Justin Steele's fault. You saw Stroman get hurt in that rotation. We saw the offense kind of struggling in the first half of the season. Like it was Cody Bellinger in the lineup. It was Justin Steele in that rotation, really as like the pillars of that team. So I thought Justin Steele deserved even more love than what he got with that 5th
He's very
place
good.
Cy Young voting. And my other honorable mention here was just Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays. Led
Yeah.
the league in average, 6th in MVP voting. Just really easy guy to look at.
Really good. And I love the story. I think his story is fascinating. Where there was a great story that I recommend everyone check out at Yahoo Sports. I forgot who wrote it. But I love how it talked about like after he got his deal, that he was more willing to tinker with his swing, which I thought was fascinating. Being like, I don't want to mess up with my money or anything like that. Let me just do what I know and just get
Mhm.
paid. And then once he got paid, he was like, okay, let's try that. And then got some more power. I think is what really helped him like elevate and become essentially the best Rays position player at this point, which is crazy. Like you said, average and then on base guy too, right? 164 WRC plus, 410 on base, really good player. And I just thought that that little anecdote is like interesting that he said I was willing to change my mechanics after getting paid. So again, there's so many variables that go into sports fans that we don't even realize. So shouts to Yandy Diaz. I agree.
Yeah, and Javi and I got a few more awards and superlatives to hand out to these MLB stars. But before we get there, I first have to tell our listeners about this new thing that Locked On has just launched, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7. 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, back here with Javier Reyes for a little crossover with Locked On Padres. Sir, what award is next?
The next award, the next award is the best. I'm going to call it right now the Pac-Man Award for the best
Okay.
smile. And everybody who's watching the video, look at that smile. Look at it. It's so good. The best
Wow.
smile. Pretty simple. And this award is it can only go to two people, as far as I'm concerned. I'm curious to see who
Okay.
you say, but I'm doing this. Not gonna lie. Look, Millard, this was your mistake. You let me come up with the awards. It is going to my friend, my beloved Jurickson Profar of the San Diego
Oh my
Padres,
God.
formerly of the Colorado Rockies, and
Oh God.
formerly of the A's, and formerly of the Texas Rangers, but back where he belongs with the Padres. And coincidentally, Padres started playing well right when he got back. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Just such a great one. And my honorable mention would be that guy in Seattle is pretty great and has had my mom a couple times just go, "Who's that?" So that's all you have to know about Julio Rodriguez. So shouts to him as well.
Man, the only award Profar is ever going to win in his career. Best smile award by Javier Reyes. Shout out to Profar. Didn't even think we were going to discuss him on today's pod. Shout out to you, Javi, for sneaking him in today's pod. But I'll go a little homer as well on this one for best smile because this is the one where I'm not watching every team. And, you know, the only time I'm watching other teams is when my D-backs are smashed them into the ground. So I don't see too many smiles on opposing players' faces. So I'm going with a homer pick here because this guy, he brought so much energy when he was acquired from the Toronto Blue Jays. He's got the purple hair flowing. His energy has been immaculate for the D-backs this season. I'm going with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who has been so good, so impactful for the D-backs. And I truly believe that energy, that infectious positive energy he had at the beginning of the season was a huge catalyst to why the D-backs started off to a really good record. So I'm going with the hometown pick, Lourdes Gurriel. Best smile in the game, baby. I wish I had a photo of him.
Hey, love it. I think that you are correct in this pick. He was good, and he was especially good to start too for the D-backs. Like, you guys had a lot of these players that just chaotic team, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Just like hitters, like just pure people who just know how to hit the damn ball. You know what I mean? Just for lack of a better descriptor, like really good stuff for him. And yeah, he went homer. It's okay though, because I went homer too, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
The next award, I'm going to call it right now. I didn't come up with a name beforehand. Let's call it the I don't know, the Arian Foster Award for best script, best storyline. For those who don't know, Arian Foster jokingly about like a year ago said that there's a script for the NFL games, like because they want to have a good story and ratings. Best storyline for me for the year. Anyone who follows my podcast knows that I preach this a lot. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I genuinely believe that it is an awesome storyline that a team that had some of the worst record in the sport, not just last year, but the year before, went out and spent a lot of money. They also had good prospects too, don't get me wrong, but they coupled that with spending and they won the whole damn thing. That is the Texas Rangers. I just think that it's a really good moment for the sport and a good reminder that yes, you need the farm. Absolutely need the farm. That's how you fill out the edges. That's how you have depth. That's how you have different matchup solutions. That's helped the D-backs as well. But you need to take some shots because you get Corey Seager. Not to bring any PTSD for you or anything, but you get players like that. You get players like Marcus Semien. You get players like John Gray, frankly. You get players like Nate Eovaldi, right? Jordan Montgomery, making moves, being aggressive. That's how you win unless you're the Royals that one year. So I think that was the best storyline this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually going to piggyback off that a little bit with mine because I was going to say the battle of the AL West just for the
Hmm.
division, just because I love seeing all those teams and the podcast hosts for those teams. Like that division just gets spicy with everyone involved. So I was going to pick the battle of the AL West, but since you already did a little Texas, I'll just transition it real quick. I'll go with the whole Attaboy storyline with the dude from that one podcast and what's going on
Okay.
all the other stuff. I don't even know what the whole beef was, to be honest. But that dude, Jake, he was getting ripped on MLB Network. Then everyone had to apologize to him
Yeah.
after. D-backs fans got to say attaboy to Harper. Like, there was just a lot of fun stuff going on. It was all during peak MLB baseball season, during the postseason. Like, we're not even focused on the games. We're talking about some reporter and what he was saying to a player. Like, I don't even know what we were discussing. It was so much off the field garbage, but somehow that's baseball for you. We care more about some of these off the field storylines with journalists as opposed to just covering the athletes on the field. So that's why it's the best storyline, because once again, it's baseball just getting in front of themselves during the postseason.
It's so, and it's like the off-field stuff that we probably should care about won't be discussed. Instead, it'll be
Yeah.
like whatever her face is on MLB Network, just trashing a reporter for like no reason. Like it's just like, what's going on? You remember that whole thing? Oh my god, really, really messy. We don't have to get too deep into that, but hey,
Yeah.
great pick. That was a wild story, and I was also tempted in terms of like the bad side of baseball to bring up the Braves like crybaby like like still in their underwear and tidy whitey's fan base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Complaining like
They-
nonstop. Their media complaining nonstop. Their pitchers complain. Like it was insane. I was like, y'all lost one game and you're crying already. Anyway, we had too much rest. So yeah, I agree that those are great storylines too. Next award. Let's keep it moving a little bit. The worst person you know award.
Mhm.
For those who don't know the meme from The Onion, the headline saying tragedy, the worst person you know actually made a good point. This award is for the most admittedly awesome thing that a division rival had going for them. So I can't say anything about any other team except for the Diamondbacks, Giants, Rockies, or Dodgers. And it's obvious here. I hate being nice to this kid. You should see off camera. I like mock him. I say how untalented he is. I say just how much of a disgrace he is to the Diamondbacks. But most admittedly awesome thing, worst person you know award. It's the D-backs making the World Series, and it's not. It's frankly, it's not close. But for Padres fans, don't worry. They also took out the Dodgers on the way there, so it was
Yeah.
great. You know what I mean? It was so funny. The same fan base that loves. They'll probably find a way into the comments of this video. They love tweeting at me every now and then. Not all the time, but every now and then in comments and every time anything happens. And then y'all think you prance around, look at us, we have the best record, and then you get swept by Tommy Pham and company in
Yes,
3 games. I don't want to hear it. You can't have every single year a walk into the postseason and you blow it to Howie Kendrick of the Washington Nationals, the Cardinals like 3 times, the Giants and their old players, and a dude named Hunter Pence who had the weirdest swing ever. You guys find a way to choke constantly, and the D-backs not only beat them, because let's be honest, everyone's beat them. That's not that unique. But then continuing it, you also beat the Brewers, and then you went to the World Series. You beat the Phillies after everyone fell in love with them.
Mhm.
Including me. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that it would have been fun if they were in the World Series, but it was really cool that they just fought right through that. They said, "Hey, it ain't over." You know what I mean? Stop celebrating, and boom, they made the World Series. So that's the worst person you know award winner for me.
That's the way you ended that perfectly parlays into my pick, to be honest, Javi,
Mm.
because my worst person is not even someone from the Locked On Network, not even someone who plays for a Major League Baseball team, but someone who covers Major League Baseball. I'm actually going with the man who most people think probably has a 100% Q score. I'm going with Jeff Passan, Javier Reyes. And that's because after game 5, yes, I'm going with Jeff Passan. After game 5 of the NLCS, he had the most disrespectful tweet I've ever seen. When the D-backs lost game 5 to the Philadelphia Phillies, he was like, "This one is over, guys. The D-backs fans are doing the wave. We're going back to Philadelphia, and the Phillies are going to the World Series." Completely disregarding the D-backs, who were called the answer backs all season because of their resilience, because their ability to come back in tough spots. What did the D-backs do in game 6 and game 7 in Philadelphia? They took it to the Phillies, and Jeff Passan had egg all over his face for it. Maybe Mad
I
Dog Russo
forgot
is
about
actually the
that.
right answer for this because he said he was going to retire.
True. That was amazing too. Yeah.
But Jeff Passan, he's a real baseball journalist. He actually cares about the game. The fact that he said that hurt more than anything Mad Dog Russo said. I don't care what Chris, but Jeff
That's
Passan saying it hurt my soul.
that is funny, and it's funny because that's been like Passan's bit for a while, is making fun of the wave. I don't get it. Only in
I love
baseball
it.
is this a discourse. Only in baseball is a celebration of people going like this, like an opinion. It's like people who think they're so interesting when they say is a hot dog a sandwich. Like that's the only thing they know how to debate. It's like, all right, dude, like seventh grade called, they want their sense of humor back, right? Like let's just like what are we doing here? And I think that's what Passan gets caught up in with that. But yeah, man, love it. You beat the wave allegations, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's a really
And
good
honestly,
one.
what if we brought waves to all sports? Yeah, NBA game, 12,000, 15,000 fans doing the wave. Like, let's get it started. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
man,
fun.
absolutely.
I'm
Um,
pro.
next up
Mhm.
is the aptly named, I think the best named. It is the Mookie Betts Award for the worst GM move of the
Yeah.
year. Yes, that is still the worst trade. My
Yeah.
winner for this, it's actually tough. First of all, I dare I say still the Mookie Betts trade. It's still the Mookie every year. It's still Mookie Betts trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy
I
was like
would.
second MVP. um, I'm going to say for this one, it was tough for me, but I'm going to say the Orioles with Jack Flaherty.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Interesting.
it was close. My other one was the Angels deciding to buy. In general, what is actually worse is the Angels because they gave up a lot of prospects and Otani might walk, right? But for me, I'm going to say Orioles because I think it just is such a showcase of the problem with baseball, where this team that has had the best season literally since like '04 is on pace for 100 wins. They win 100 games in a crowded division. And then your big deadline move is a guy whose arm is just gone at this point. I feel for him. Jack Flaherty, too many injuries. I just feel like, how is it that that other teams made bigger moves at the deadline with starting pitching? I know that wasn't the most stacked starting pitching at the deadline, but I'm just saying it's weird. Like, why didn't you start talking to the White Sox? You know, maybe I would have liked to see something more aggressive. And I'd be careful, folks, because the owner of the damn team in the middle of this historic season is like, yeah, don't get too attached to the players. You're saying that already? Like, that's crazy. So that's why I think it might hurt them more. But I think that in reality, it's still probably the Angels. But I don't know. I'm a hater.
And if you're an Orioles fan, you just saw what the D-backs did. Are you like, how do we not try to get more aggressive with this young
Mhm.
team that won 100 plus games? Like, you should
Exactly.
always maximize whatever window you have. And maybe the
And the
Orioles were
Orioles,
ahead of schedule, but
they have
yeah.
no budget. They're even lower than you guys. They're at like the 30 million. Like, you have plenty of room to make moves. You could swing and a miss and be fine. They could sign Anthony Rendon and they'd be fine, even if he was terrible. Like,
Oh
they'd be
god,
okay. But
maybe
they
that's
didn't.
the
So
worst move. Just retroactively give it the Anthony
yeah,
Rendon signing every single season.
yeah. Remember when he yelled
Um,
at the fan or grabbed the
yeah,
fan?
yeah, that was weird. That was like week 2 of the MLB
We
season.
need a wacko award. That'll be for
Yeah.
next year.
My guy here, I went a little bit chalk on this one. I'm going with the signing from the offseason that everyone thought was going to be the
Hmm.
worst signing, and it turned out to be true. Jacob DeGrom to the Texas Rangers. Again,
Oh, you're
not
mean.
because of
You're
not
mean.
because of talent, but I was looking at it again. I was like, damn, he's like a top 3 highest paid
Mhm.
player in baseball. He's
Yeah.
gonna be 35 years of age, and he already year one couldn't finish the season after the last few years, really struggling with health. Like, I just don't know how it gets better outside of DeGrom just staying healthy. And I think he's shown us enough at this point. Like, that's a bad bet. So, Texas Rangers fans should still feel good. You still got a World Series ring under your belt. Maybe the next 3 years could be a little bit of a disaster. I doubt that. I don't think DeGrom would derail this whole situation. But I think you already have to look at DeGrom as like, bad deal, bad contract, and just already bite the bullet and take that as a loss. You already got your World Series ring. You already know you could win it without DeGrom. So I think you just look at him as like just a side piece off to the side that if he ever comes back and plays well, then just the little cherry on top to what you already have cooking in Texas.
Yeah. You could hope. And like you said, at least they still won. You know what I mean? Like, they still didn't end up winning. It did stink, but hey, you go for it sometimes. You're gonna miss. I get it though. Probably up there, it hurts, but at least it won't hurt them as much as others. Next award, is the let's call it the I guess I'll do a movie reference again. Why not? The Rise of Skywalker award for the biggest disappointment this season. Or I'm
Mm.
sorry, not I jumped the gun. We'll have to go back. But for biggest disappointment, um Millard, what do you got? This one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I would went with a team here, not a player, and I just went with the St. Louis Cardinals, who I think entering the
Mm.
year, like when you looked at all the divisions that to pick winners, like the Cardinals were like maybe the biggest lock of any team to win their division entering the year, and then they were like 5-25, and we're like, okay, it's still early, they're gonna turn it around. They still got Arenado, he's gonna get going. You still got the reigning MVP. They just never got it going. Rotation super old. This offseason, it seems like they're only getting older. Actually, the rotation might got younger with a Kyle Gibson signing at age 36. Who knows? I don't really like any of their young guys with the Brendan Donovans and all these other dudes who we try to make work, who just doesn't. I like Paul Goldschmidt. I like Nolan Arenado. Arenado coming off a down season, I think could be a perfect buy low candidate for another team. So I think the Cardinals are just in a weird place right now. And I just think they just have themselves a terrible season and probably the most disappointing season in baseball. But hey, I think you might have a little case over there. I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I have to answer the Padres. Like, I'm not even gonna like do any build up. On top of, I mean, the Mets are the other team as well, but I'm gonna pick Padres.
Mhm.
All the spending, all the hype, trading for Soto, signing Xander Bogarts, and for you to be that unclutch just all season. And they didn't even need to do that much. You know what I mean? Like all they had to do was be okay. Couldn't even do that. So it's the Padres, and the fact that we're seeing the consequences of that with the payroll reduction. It's the Padres for me for most disappointing. Absolutely.
You guys got it pretty close like that final month and like the final
I
6
know.
weeks. You guys like made it a real race. It was like there was like one series in September against the D-backs or like late August. So I was like,
Yeah.
the Padres go in and take like 2 out of 3 or sweep us, like they're gonna jump us in the division, which
Yeah.
would have been crazy.
And then they had like two straight like awful losses where Josh
Yeah,
Hader didn't want to pitch for some reason.
yeah, really weird.
I jumped the gun before. That's my bad. But the Billy Bean Award for the best GM move. Oh, so we did worst GM move. Now we got to do best GM move. Pretty straightforward. This one, there was a lot of good moves this year. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with, and I know that there's probably others that had more overall consequence, but I'm gonna go with Luis Arraez to the Marlins.
Okay.
Kim Ng and company killed it. Absolutely. I think it says a lot, frankly, about our sport and sports that she is out of a job somehow after this is
Insane.
the first time they made the playoffs since I believe '03. And I think their manager also, who just won manager of the year. Now, I think it says a lot about the sport, and it also says a lot about the Marlins. And maybe very clear. I think that plays a part in this too. That's a unserious organization. I love that phrase. I think it's great.
Mm.
Luis Arraez, it's a gutsy move. Pablo Lopez is a good pitcher. You didn't just give up some random prospects that you know what they're going to be. And he was the batting guy. Absolutely incredible with the bat. And he was huge for them. Like really clutch, really helped that team. Like you could see on a night in, night out basis. Wasn't the only move. Jorge Soler had a good season. Starling Marte, a rental. They traded him to get Jesus Luzardo, who was a great pitcher for them this year, right? Like a lot of nice bullpen moves. The Jake Berger and former Padre Josh Bell move, that helped a lot. But I'm going to go with Luis Arraez because that was a full season thing. And it's such a classic old timer player. You know what I mean? The type of player that
Yeah.
you'll hear on Part of the Interruption getting praised, and no one does it like they used to. Arraez is how you should do it, right? So I'm going to give it to the Marlins for Luis Arraez.
Yeah, for all the batting average truthists out there, right? Luis Arraez is your king. And it's funny you bring up Kim and do you say her last name Ing?
Ang,
Ang?
like
Okay.
Avatar Ang.
Ang. Okay. Yeah, because I bring her up at least once a pod just because I think it's honestly disgusting that she's not the
Yeah.
executive there over there with the Marlins anymore because I didn't say I didn't pick a specific move, but I said the Marlins deadline was the best GM move for my award because I thought the
Mhm.
Marlins had the best deadline of any team. For Kim to go
Yeah.
out there and pick up, we knew this Marlins team had great pitching, but the offense was always that area where they needed to improve. You went out there, you got Jake Berger from the Chicago White
Yeah.
Sox, who
You're
they
nothing.
have players like
Mhm.
Eloy and Tim Anderson and all these other dudes you might
Mhm.
thought would have got moved. It was
Great
Jake
point. Yeah.
Berger who she identified, who smashed like a 900 OPS and like
Yeah.
monster power with a Josh Bell too, who was kind of middling, then got picked up and
Mhm.
was just on fire for the Marlins. Like, I think from start to finish, off season to the end of the regular season, and the fact that she picked a new manager who was manager of the year, I think Kim was the executive of the year for any franchise this past season.
I mean, yeah, she was incredible. And like you said, it's crazy. It's disgusting that she's out of a job. The last award, Millard, arguably my favorite. The Power of the Dog Award. This is another movie reference for the most forgettable team. This is a shot at the artsy fartsy jerks out there. I called that movie Power of the Nap. I think it will not be discussed literally ever again. Because I also don't think it's a very good movie, but it's a critical darling. Most forgettable team. I think it's Pittsburgh Pirates. I feel like this team has been in perpetual rebuild for like 100 years, and they didn't do anything, and they extended Brian Reynolds, and Brian Reynolds he's not overrated. His trade discourse was overrated. Like, he was being treated like Mickey Mantle. They were like, they want a Soto like pack. What are you talking about, bro? And he's a fine player. He's a fine player. I think like a 120-ish WRC plus this year. Like, he's fine. Decent defender. He's the type of player that will fit on every team because he can play basically all over the place. And was I right? 110 WRC plus, actually. So maybe I might just say frankly overrated, right? maybe I could say that. But even still, he's a fine player. But after all that, and part of this is injuries, right? Like, they did have some rough injuries, specifically to O'Neal Cruz. That stunk. But I just feel like I heard nothing about them all year. So I'm going to give it to the Pirates.
Hey, I don't mind that at all. Brian Hayes, I'm tired of hearing about him. Yeah, maybe he has elite defense, but when is that bat ever going to come around? I don't know. This Pirates team, I agree, very forgettable. Sorry, Locked On Pirates host Ethan Smith. But for me, I'm taking a little bit of an even meaner approach here. I'm going with a team who is literally going to be forgettable because they're going to be out the sport. The Oakland A's.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to remember the bottom 5 in attendance and the bottom 5 in payroll every year, and the team that never gets past the wild card to division round. Like, what is there to remember? They never do anything in the postseason. They never spend money. People don't go to those games. They never have that interesting of talent. Whenever they do get good talent, they trade them away immediately as soon as it's time to start paying them. So it's like, what is there to remember from the Oakland A's outside of, if literally Moneyball was never made, would we ever speak about Billy Beane or the Oakland A's ever? Like, would we ever have a discussion about them? I think
I think the only discussion would be what we always say, right? They just don't spend. I think Passon, your boy, had the best tweet about this. Since John Fisher bought the A's in 2005, their year-end payrolls have ranked, and this is for all the people who'd say, oh, well, they just don't have the money, or, well, nobody shows up to games. You know why? 2005 to 2023, 19th, 18th, 27th, 27th, 26th, 23rd, 30th, 27th, 23rd, 26th, 27th, 28th, 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 26th, 26th, 24th, 30, 30. A lot of those years, they were a playoff team, and they still refused to spend. It is not because people didn't care about Oakland A's baseball. They did. This is the place that gave us Ricky Henderson, for God's sake. Heck, they gave us Jose Canseco, for God's sake. Like, they have fans, and they've won championships before. Their owner has actively destroyed that team. And I don't know if that makes them forgettable. I think it makes them like a tragedy, frankly, in a lot of ways. But like, I really think that emphasizes it all. So again, not to get on my high horse again and my, gossip column, but keep that in mind whenever you hear people start saying, oh, well, they just don't have the money, and, oh, well, no one shows up. There's a reason why people don't show up, right? And I feel for the fans of Oakland losing the Raiders and now losing the A's. Whew, rough. Yeah. Absolutely rough.
If you did a Rorschach, I don't even know how to pronounce that. But if you did like a Rorschach test with, you know what
Rorschach test, yeah.
Rorschach, you know what I'm saying over there, Javi. If you did one of those with like,
I love Watchmen,
yeah, you did that with like people under 25, and you're like, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Oakland A's? People might say like Brad Pitt or something. Like, the first thing you think of with the Oakland A's for like youngsters might not be any player. It might not be Ricky Henderson. Like, it might be Brad Pitt and what he did. It might be like a Jonah Hill or something. So when that is the case, it's not good. And hopefully, I think Vegas could reignite that whole thing with Oakland and, or not Oakland, with the A's, because they're no longer going to be in Oakland. So most forgettable team, a team that will no longer be around going forward. Sorry. And that's it. I don't know. Should I rap? I don't know who should rap.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, folks. Those are the superlative awards. We went a little bit longer than I think we expected, but hopefully everybody had fun. Miller, what do you got on the horizon?
Thanksgiving, going to be eating good. We got a big feast. This was a long pod. We'll see if we break it up into two pods. Don't know if we'll do that, but on the horizon, just of course, hot stove talk, right? Who else wants to talk about anything else but Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani and where they're going right now?
Absolutely, man. Same here. Going to be talking hopefully soon with Ulysses and Brown of Locked On Rays. Everyone tune into that for Tyler Glass now trade discourse. So
Ooh,
that should be a lot of fun. And otherwise, yeah, going to be enjoying Thanksgiving and some good old pecan pie. Love that. Good stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Shout
so
out
yeah,
everyone who listened. Go follow us on all our socials at Career Times 24 for me, at Javi Peno for Javier on Twitter, Locked On Padres, Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube, and of course, wherever you stream platforms. Until next time, whenever that is, maybe a little pre-Christmas crossover. Javier Reyes. Until
ooh.
then, doses.